want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Madmen of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Hey,
real men having real conversations.
What's up,
for
y'all?
you. What you doing, man? Can you hear me?
I can't hear a thing.
Uh-oh.
I apologize, everybody. I'm having headphone issues.
Technical difficulties. We can hear him, but he can't hear us. That's like a metaphor for life. Know what I'm saying? Technical difficulties. It's all in the details. It's all in the gremlins. It's all in the options and the et ceteras.
Yeah, no, I finally figured it out. There's two more steps for some reason. I figured it out. There was two more steps. I don't know what was going on with that. It was just I couldn't hear a thing, couldn't see a thing.
What's up with that?
But hey, we're here.
We're here. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And this guy is Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Madmen of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
I don't think we did that yesterday, did we?
We didn't do that yesterday, but we got the intro. It does it for us. We're doing all good.
Mm-hmm. Show is, man. This is so for all of you who don't know.
Now you know.
We do an hour-long show on KLDC 1220 on the AM side in the Mile High City and on the interwebs everywhere. And we also do YouTube, Facebook, all kinds of podcast joints. And anyhow, so we do our regular show. We record that on Mondays and then we come back on Tuesdays and we basically do the same topic, but we do it in 30 minutes instead of 60.
Yeah, we try to condense it down.
It's the microwave version.
Yeah, we try to give you the meat, spit out the bones. We try to give you the condensed version, and we'll do our best tonight because we're talking about personal responsibility, which is
absolutely
a very dense topic. I have to admit, it's a very dense topic.
It's like the concentrated orange juice.
That's right.
It's in a little can like that, but it makes a whole gallon.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Remember back in the day when we had concentrated orange juice in the freezer?
What do you mean?
We had to mix it up. I'm telling you, come on, man.
Back in the day, I still got concentrated orange juice. You talking about back in the day? Is that something that's supposed to be back in the day? Like we ain't supposed to have that now?
Well, maybe I need to go back to concentrated orange juice because it's much smaller, like trash. Because I keep getting the gallon jugs and I go through those in a couple of days. Maybe I need to go back.
Newsflash! If you got according to JBK, if you got concentrated orange juice, you ghetto.
I ain't saying none of that.
That's basically what you're saying, man. It's basically, hey, you need to take some personal responsibility for your audio visual tonight, man. You need to take some personal responsibility, man, because you telling all of us if we got concentrated orange juice that we.
I ain't saying none of that. Why you gotta be so sensitive?
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying what you're saying. So, man, the whole idea of personal responsibility, man. Sometimes we speak 2 men, sometimes we speak 4 men. This is probably more 2 men, but also 4 men. Today, just on the quick, and man, I think as men, as people, as adults, as people of this generation, it's time for us to begin to look in the mirror and say, okay, what do we need to do to take whatever we're doing to the next level in this new year? And that's important.
It is completely important. And like you said, every day is a new year, can be a new year, can be the beginning of a new year for you. And what we have come to find out and what we were kind of preaching and espousing here on the show is that personal responsibility is your path to finding purpose and finding the happiness you want in life. But it starts with looking in the mirror. It starts with being honest with yourself. It starts with really, for the main thing, understanding who you are, looking at your life through a point of choice and going, you know what, maybe I chose these things. Maybe these are the things that are leading me down the path towards what I need to be doing. Maybe these are things that are leading me down the path towards my purpose, my passion, what it is in the world that I need to be doing. But it all starts with personal responsibility. You got to look in the mirror and go, who am I? What's going on inside me? And how do I turn that into a personal responsibility thing so that I can actually take onus of it and take responsibility of it and going, this is me. These are my good points. These are my bad points. And this is how I come to the world and bring this to the world for the betterment of everybody else.
And if you're watching us live, feel free to comment, comment right on this stream here, particularly, especially on Facebook. If you're watching this after the fact, you can comment, man, whenever the fact, and we'll reply wherever you would comment.
Yeah,
We'd love to hear what you think, what you agree with, what you don't agree with, all those kinds of things. But dude, I think at some point as a grown up, we got to stop blaming our past. We got to stop blaming our parents. We got to stop blaming, our ex. We got to stop blaming all that kind of stuff, man. We do, man. I mean, it's at some point you got to say, okay, like in my case, man, I'll take, I'll start with me. I'll start in the mirror. I could point the finger back and say, man, this happened and this happened and that happened, and my father was this and blah blah blah, and this happened to me when I was young and all that kind of stuff. Now, all that stuff happened and all that stuff informed some of who I am today, but it's not. But the guy died in 1996, man. And when he died, he was 3, almost 4 years younger than I am now, right? So, I mean, so guess what? At some point, I gotta realize that he didn't make the choices that I made for my life, which caused me to have some of the pain and heartache that I did. So I got to stop blaming him, man. I got to recognize what I've been through, but also recognize that, that's not the cause of everything that I've become. So,
yeah. And that's when you become an adult, you're 18, you're out of the house. Hopefully you're doing your thing, especially as a man, because for us guys, we are as valuable as what we provide. We are valuable as what we contribute. And we don't contribute as well if we're not taking personal responsibility in the world. If we're not looking in the mirror and going, you know what, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. And that's what I see a lot. And a lot of guys we talk to is they don't want to acknowledge their negative side. They don't want to acknowledge that shadow side. They don't want to acknowledge their trauma, because we've been taught to suck it up and to keep it quiet and to push it down. But those are the things that lead you to being personally responsible, having some discipline, and actually being the whole man that you need to be. But when you're not willing to acknowledge that these things happen in my life, then you end up becoming a victim of those things and they end up running your life. So personal responsibility is really about self-awareness, looking at your life like, okay, these things happened, but I can either be a victim of them or I can learn from them. I can heal that trauma. I can talk about it. I can get with other guys and talk about the things that happened in my life and realize, number one, I'm not alone. These things happen to most of us. And this is actually the things that will lead me to maybe a path of purpose, maybe a path of foundation, maybe the thing that turns us into the men that we want to be. But if you're a victim of it, then it's running your life. If you're a victim of it and not taking onus of it, not taking ownership of it and saying, this is me, good and bad, the ugly, this is who I am, and I can move forward from this. But when you're a victim of it, then it's running your life. And if you were a guy like me who's been down that path of addiction and all these other things of trauma, and you're like, why can't I stop doing these things? I know they're bad for me, but I keep doing these things. Well, maybe it's because you haven't looked at or gotten some therapy or gotten some help to work through those traumas so that you can turn them into wisdom, so that you can move past them. Maybe you're still a victim of them. And if you're a victim of them, they're going to run your life. I'm sorry. It's what happens. And we keep promoting to guys to talk to other guys, to get into groups and talk about the things that are going on in your life, because we keep thinking that we're the only ones, we're an island, and these are the only things that I'm the only one that these things are happening to. But if you talk to any other guys, healthy men, they will tell you that they're dealing with the exact same things most of the time. And they will let you know you're not alone and that you can get healthy, but you got to deal with these things, talk about them. And a lot of times these traumas can become your strengths.
I hear a lot of guys, and I've been there before. I've been there and I've been that guy. But I've heard a lot of guys blame their ex for all kinds of stuff. I've heard a lot of guys, really, I've heard a lot of guys even blame the um the divorce system and process for their circumstances. I've heard a lot of guys say, man, she took this and she took that, and and I now I don't have this and I don't have that, and she got this and she got that, and all those other kind of things. And, the reality is, man, if you want to take personal responsibility for the fact that you married her, and you married her probably without some kind of something in writing ahead of time saying here's the stipulations X, Y, and Z. If you had a bunch of kids and a stay-at-home wife, then guess what? When you get divorced, you're going to be writing a very large check for many years to come, period. But nobody made you have all them kids. Nobody made you make the decision for you to go out and kick butt in your career and have a stay-at-home wife. And nobody made you, you know, contribute, because we all contribute at least somewhat to the downfall of your marriage. In all of those factors involved, you can't be mad when the formula, you put in the formula, parenting time, income, benefits, all that kind of stuff, and the formula comes out to whatever number. It is what it is. Now, I'm not saying that system can't be improved, because I believe it can, but this is one example where guys, they want to blame their ex, or they want to blame their system for that check that they got to write every month. But man, us taking personal responsibility as men, we got to recognize, man, ain't nobody make you do all that. Ain't nobody, dude, is, ain't nobody make you. Ain't nobody make you hold out for that extra second. Ain't nobody, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody made you try to think you can, you can control it. Dude, I'm just being real, man. We've been there. So this is one way practically that it plays out in our culture, especially with a lot of guys that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s and above, man. One of the things that a lot of us can relate to.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, is that having personal responsibility does mean looking at yourself, looking in the mirror, and accepting your choices, accepting the fact that maybe you feel like a victim of that relationship or that marriage or your parents, whatever. But there are some choices you made. Either you chose to go along with that, or you felt like the internal story was like, I'm not good enough, so this is all I can get. But it's still a choice. And it's hard for a lot of us to go, okay, I made that choice, and own that, because we feel like, okay, well, if I accept that, then that makes me less than, or makes me a buster, or makes me whatever. But really, when you accept responsibility for those things, those choices that you made, that's when you gain your power back. And we talked about it last night a little bit, but there's a great book, Mindset by Carol Dweck. It's growth mindset or it's fixed mindset. And that fixed mindset really comes from being a victim. You're like, I'm a victim of this. I can't do nothing about it. My parents were this way. I grew up this way. The relationship was this way, whatever it was. But when you're in that victim mindset, there's no hope for growth. There's no hope for redemption. There's no hope for learning anything. When you're in a fixed mindset, your mind is shut down. But when you're in a growth mindset, like, well, okay, I made that choice. What can I learn from that? What can I take from that? What can I move forward with that? Then you're open to possibilities. And that's why the victim mindset is so dangerous. And especially in the Western world, it's being pushed on us. Like, you're a victim of your family, you're a victim of your school, you're a victim of your economic circumstances, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're a victim of it, then you lose your power to that thing. And what we are really a proponent of and pushing is that, guys, take your power back. Taking your power back is taking personal responsibility, looking in the mirror and going, okay, I made those choices. Now what? What do I want to go from here? And if you don't do that, then you're still going to be a victim of that thing. But if you say, hey, I made these bad choices, but now I have the opportunity of making new choices. And now you have the opportunity of taking your power back and moving forward as a wiser man, as a more successful man.
We all been through something. We all been through something, man. I don't know anybody that doesn't have a history, a story, a sad story in their life. But guess what? Every superhero has a sad backstory, right? Every single one of them, man. And sometimes it's that sad backstory that gives you the superpower that you ought to have. And so it is kind of a between the eyes, not very popular, not very sexy, topic of conversation, but it is what it is, man. And I think, at some point when you kind of accept when I say accept that, I'm talking about accepting the responsibility for whatever that thing is, and just taking ownership for, okay, but today going forward, it's going to be something different. I can say, I can look at my father's tombstone and I can see my name on that tombstone, but I can also recognize that is that version of him. And that was a guy that was flawed. That was a guy that was broken. That was a guy that was criminally insane. That was a guy that had PTSD. That was a guy that had all kinds of childhood abuses and traumas and whatever. And, I'm pretty sure looking back, given the cards he was dealt, he was probably doing the best he could, man, even though I got some scars and all that as a result of that kind of stuff. But the reality is, if nothing else, I got to forgive him, because, man, like I said, when he died, he was, 3-4 years younger than me. And when he died, I hadn't seen him in like 6 years or something like that before that. So, man, I mean, basically most of my history with him was before the age of 40, roughly speaking, in his life. So, man, we got to take that, but I can take that story. I can take everything that I experienced and everything that I learned, and I can realize that, wait a minute, man, maybe my passion and my purpose is wrapped up in the gift wrap of my pain. Right. I mean, and maybe I can look into that thing and figure out what can I mine out of this. When you mine something, you go into dark places and you dig and you grind and you pull out something valuable, whether it's old gold, oil, diamonds, etc. And so we got to go into our dark places, man, and we got to pull out something valuable from that whole thing.
Yeah, and I've talked about
that was good, by the way, man. That was good.
Yeah,
that boy good.
Yeah, you good. You good. You got some good stuff coming out. Listen, y'all, take notes, write that down. But that's what we're talking about. I mean, I wrote in my first 2 books, looking at your life through a point of choice. When you look at your life through the point of like victimhood, you think, oh, well, I didn't choose to be born to these parents. I didn't choose to have these experiences. I didn't choose. Well, when you have that mindset, then you're just a victim of that. You can't really do anything with it. But if you just say, well, what if? And that's a big thing. What if I chose those people? What if I chose to have those experiences? What if I chose to have that because there's something I wanted to glean from that, or something I wanted to grow from that? And like Kirk said, a lot of times your purpose comes from your pain. A lot of times those of us who have gone through these things and have scars and have trauma and, we've been through addiction, we've been through all these, abuse and whatever it is, when you can take that, turn it around and learn from it, now you have ammunition, you have a skill set that you can take to other men, to other people and say, yes, I've been through that as well. I understand what you're going through, and you can help them heal. And if you are struggling and not sure what to do with your life, what to do with your traumas, expressing those traumas and talking to other men about them, especially as a guy, because that's the biggest thing we deal with nowadays. Most guys are still silent. They're still isolated. They're still not talking about what's going on inside their head or what's going on inside their emotions. And that's why they're taking themselves out, because they're not venting that. They're not talking about that. They think they're alone. But when you talk about those things, not only are you venting that and releasing that energy and giving yourself a blessing of like letting go, but you're also letting other guys know you've been through it. They can go through it. You can help them and let them know they're not alone, and that it's not just them. It's not just you. We're all going through the same thing. There's only like 4 or 5 things as human beings we go through. And when we share those things, we realize, number 1, we're not alone. Number 2, it's not just us. And number 3, when we share these things, we heal and gain wisdom, because the memory without the emotional attachment is wisdom.
Yeah. And everything you just said, man, I spent 30 of the first 40 years of my life addicted, not just consuming, but I'm talking about completely under the control of and addicted to pornography, man. And then come to find out when I got free from that, but then more so when I started to tell that story, like I wouldn't be here having this conversation right now had I not began to confront that and acknowledge that, deal with it, correct it, but then begin to share that with other people and other guys. And that led to whatever. And man, since then, man, that was 2014. And man, I've helped hundreds of guys since then, with their addiction to pornography. And so, everything you just got finished saying, man, in terms of acknowledging that thing and then talking about that thing, man, it's like, that's the key. That's the key to unlocking yours or somebody else's jail cell, man. That's being able to talk about that stuff and being able to confront it, man. And so, so that's what it, that's what it comes down to. That's the power in that whole thing, man. When we come together as guys and we begin to address these things publicly and then even more so than that, express these things and explore these things individually, one-on-one with other guys, man. That's where the power is.
Yeah. Yeah. Your superpower comes from your pain. And like Kirk was saying, every superhero has a sad backstory. Well, their superpower comes from that sad backstory. A
Mhm.
lot of, I mean, Batman, his parents died and, he saw them murdered and all that. And that turned him into a superhero vigilante, whatever you want to call it. But for a lot of us, it's the same thing. And that's why it's so hard for most guys because we've been taught this erroneous idea that we have to suck it up and be stoic and not talk about these things. But those things are killing us. And when we actually have the bravery and have the gumption to go, you know what? I'm going to share this with another guy. That will turn into your superpower. Most times in life, what we find out is our pain leads to our purpose. Our pain leads to our superpower, but you have to be brave enough, and that's where that personal responsibility comes in. You got to be able to look in the mirror and go, you know what, I'm not as bad as I think I am. And most of us guys look in the mirror, and we're afraid to look in the mirror because we all we see is all the negative things we don't want to talk about. All we see is all the stuff that we're judging about ourselves. But if you can look in the mirror and go, you know what, I'm not the only one. And if I will talk about this, not only am I saving my own life, but I guarantee you're saving other guys' lives as well. And when we come together as guys and talk about those things and get that stuff out, then we raise the bar for not only ourselves, but everybody else. And we talked about it last night, we talked about it again. It takes a village to raise a child, it takes a group of guys to make a successful man. I don't care if you're a boxer or a martial artist or you do some sort of single sport, there's a whole team behind those people. So find your
Mhm.
team. If you're over isolated, if you're not talking about things, if you're not getting out with other guys, then you're just going to kind of spiral down. But if you want to have somebody reach out to you, if you want to have somebody support you, maybe reach out and support somebody else and you can support each other together and become the better men that you really want to be.
And here's, I mean, as we begin to wind this thing down here, since this is our short version, um, here's why this is important for us as guys. Because guess what? Nobody's coming for us as guys. I mean, there's not going to be
Sad
an
but true.
agenda. There's not going to be an agenda in media. There's not going to be an agenda in entertainment. There's not going to be agenda in politics to uplift healthy masculinity. Because when you uplift healthy masculinity, guess what, man? Families get better, houses get better, communities get better and safer. You don't have these one-off lone, gunmen going off doing crazy stuff, committing these mass casualties. And when you don't have all that kind of stuff, then you can't pit people against each other. And when you can't pit people against each other, then politics don't win. News cycle doesn't win. All these other kind of things. So us as guys, man, it's time for us to turn the page on what we were and begin to write out the new chapters of who we're going to be as men and become the tip of the spear for our culture, become the tip of our spear for our households, for our families, for our relationships, and for the women that are in our lives. All the women that are in our lives would love to have good, healthy, masculine men leading the way as the tip of the spear, man, because they all know, the real women. I'm talking about the modern feminists who are off base and they smoke their own drugs that they're selling. I'm talking about the real good women out there know that a healthy man makes everybody better. So nobody's coming for us as guys. And it's time for us as guys to put our arms around each other's shoulders, circle up, rally up, support each other, and say, man, what can we do to be the tide that comes in so that all the other boats rise?
Yeah, and if you're like me, I'll let you guys know there is an actual war. It may be subversive, maybe behind the scenes, but the actual war on healthy masculinity. So that means there's somebody out to get you. There's somebody's trying to quiet you. There's somebody's trying to put you down and tell you that being a healthy man is not a good thing. And if you're like me, that's going to piss you off and that's going to make you more motivated to become more of a healthy man, to deal with those things in your life so that you can be that man that you want to be. And it will make you more motivated to get around other guys to prove to yourself and to them that you're not the only one, that you're not broken, that you're just going through the same things that every other guy's going through, and that this world is not in our favor. Now, for me, when I think about that, it motivates me, it ticks me off, it gets me fired up to get out in the world and go, you know what? I'm going to show what healthy masculinity is. I'm going to show these other people who are telling me that I'm wrong, that they're wrong. And these are the things we want to talk about with personal responsibility because, first of all, it starts in the mirror. You need to look in the mirror and go, you know what? I'm not broken, but maybe I need help. I've gone through traumas, I've got pain. Maybe I need to talk to somebody about this. And I need to talk to other guys about this because men, we need other men to be healthy. We need other men to raise us up. And as a group of healthy men, we can change the world. But we need to come together as healthy men to talk about these things, to heal our own traumas, to make those our superpowers, and to get out in the world and start to raise this tide to make the world a better place. But it starts with us. Got to look in the mirror and go, you know what? Maybe I need some help. Maybe this whole Lone Ranger, John Wayne thing was a lie. And I need a group of guys that to be with me, to support me, and I can support them in the same way to make ourselves better and to bring us all up.
And if you resonate with anything we're talking about, let us know, man, because maybe the page turn for even this show is helping guys learn how to level up. See, a lot of us may not know how to go to the next level in our finances, or go to the next level in our health, and go to the next level in our credit, go to the next whatever it is in our profession and all these other kind of things, man. And so, man, we are all about, maybe we can be the vehicle to help guys learn how to level up. And then, and then again, when they get better, man, you said a genius yesterday, man, women are at the finish line waiting to see who crosses first, and so, guess what, man, we don't have to simp when we got our poop in a group.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? When we got our ducks in a row, man, we don't have to be out there chasing unhealthy women. We don't have to chase low hanging fruit. It ain't about the booty. It's about, the baby. I mean, it's about somebody that, that can produce something. And so I don't know where that came from.
I like it though.
Fire today, man.
I tell you.
But so maybe us as a show, man, maybe it's our pivot is okay. And so if you're out there, man, if you're a guy and you do something, you have some profession or some expertise, and you want to help other guys, level up in some kind of way, something specific. There's a lot of talking heads out there, but we're talking like some specific, some profession or something like that, man. Partner with us, man. Let's teach people, let's teach men how to level up in various ways of their life.
Yeah, and it all starts, okay, we're going to go right back to it. It starts in the mirror. You got to look at yourself and go, you know what? I'm a man. I might need some support. And I've run men's groups, and what has been the overlying just story of the men's groups is that most of us think we're alone. Most of us think that I'm the only one going through this. But when you get into a group of men and start talking and start telling your story and start being open, you realize not only are you not the only one, but you are going through the exact same things other guys are going through. And when you talk about it, you release that pressure. And we did the self-canceling episode. Most men, 4 times more men self-cancel because they're not releasing the pressure. And I talk about what's going on inside their mind or what's going on in their heart. And when you do that, not only do you heal, but you also heal other people, and then you make yourself stronger. You make yourself, your shoulders are back, your back is straight. You can walk through the world realizing that, you know what, I am a good man. And most of the guys I used to work with didn't think that they were men or didn't think that they were good men because they hadn't talked it out with anybody else. And so that's what we're challenging you guys out there, talking to men. Get out there and talk to other guys. Find you a healthy men's group and talk about what's going on in your life. And you realize you're not the only one. You're not as isolated as you think you are. And this can become your superpower, because what you want to receive in the world, that love and support, if you give that, you're going to receive it tenfold. And we keep talking about it, but it's true. So look in the mirror and go, what is it I'm struggling with? How can I give this to somebody else? Am I struggling with addiction? Am I struggling with isolation? Am I struggling with just my own mental patterns of depression? How can I share this with somebody else and let them know they're not alone? And when I let them know they're not alone, I know I'm not alone. And we're now supporting each other. We're growing together, and we're becoming better men, more successful men. Sometimes you got to take account of your life and go, who are the 5 guys I hang out with most? Maybe I need to change those guys so that I am the average of the 5 guys I hang out with. Maybe the guys I'm hanging out with, I need to change so that I can become the best version of myself moving forward in the future, because it is a new year. Every day is a new year, but we are starting a new year, 2023. It's time to move forward and become the best versions of ourselves we can be.
And let's take this thing to the next level. Again, if you got something, if you got some expertise or some skill or some business or something like that can help men level up in their mind, their body, their fitness, their finances, whatever it is, let us know, man. Let's bring this information to the world. Let's come on and come on with us, man, and help us level up some other guys, man. And so that's about that, man. This is a good stuff, man. That's our page. That's our page that we're turning for this coming year, man. And so I think with that, man, what do you think?
I think it's time we get off. Let y'all send your comments into us, and we are here for you. And we know it's a bit of a struggle, but we know you have the strength, you have the fortitude to turn your pain into passion, and we're here to support you. And send us your messages, send us your likes and subscribes, and we'll be here as long as we can be here. We love y'all. And at that, Madman
Out.
out.